Hello, Calling Up community. I'm Claudia Alec, and today we are understanding the aggrieved performance in supremacy culture. So, supremacy culture is the culture that works to maintain white dominance, male dominance, ableist dominance, heterosexist dominance, and normalize the idea that these populations should be dominating positions of power, resource allocation and management, and all representation in media. The grievance performance is the performance that happens when someone is harmed and they need to have their harms addressed by greater society or by some other person. So in a nutshell, an example would be a child. A baby falls, scrapes its knee, goes, wah. So the scraped knee is the harm. The wah is the grievance performance. And then the family will come and maybe put a Band-Aid on their knee and give them a hug and give them love and give them a cookie maybe. So that's the authentic grievance performance in its totality. You can also have the fake grievance performance, which if you've ever been around children, you have experienced, where babies are smart and they learn that if they lie down on the ground in a certain way and go, wah, an adult will run over, give them a hug, and maybe even give them a cookie. So we will name that the faux. There is no real harm, but there is the performance of grievance and the expectation of redress. So that's the faux, F-A-U-X, the fake performance, the faux performance of grievance. Now, as a member of many different marginalized communities in the United States, I have been getting gaslit my entire life because dominant culture, supremacy culture, always responds to our naming our grievances with denial, with a gaslighting, with an invalidation. So a woman says, I'm being paid less than men, and that is unethical and wrong. And then society responds by saying, no, it's not even happening. And then the one says, well, actually, I've done the math and here's the stats that we have for it. And then dominant society says, well, actually, it's because you do different jobs than men. And actually, it's because you're always having babies. And actually, you need to stop worrying about that stuff. It's not really even a problem. So it's invalidating the position. So, of course, the reaction from marginalized community has been, believe victims, listen to victims, respect that. And there's been a fighting to create systems that will support marginalized positionality, since it's always going to be advocating from a weaker place. So what has dominant supremacy culture done? Well, it's taken on the performances, rhetoric, and positionality of marginalized community because it wants the small amount of power that marginalized community has gained for itself. It also wants to muddy the waters and confuse the heck out of you. So it is the dominant class taking not only the privileges that come with being a dominant class, but also taking on any kind of additional powers or privileges that come from being a protected class. Dominant culture wants all of it. It wants to demand validation. Supremacy culture says, oh yeah, well, you're always saying that you should believe victims. I'm saying I'm a victim, so you should believe me. Which, of course, is muddying the waters. We're no longer allowed to talk about authentic harm or inauthentic harm. All we get to do is have grievance and validation and invalidation cycles. And in so doing, they create a disconnect for their core communities and audience. So supremacy culture has huge, gigantic airwaves. So let's just talk about Fox News. How much space has been taken up on Fox News by grievance of the man, by incels and men who need more female attention, grievance from men who need more power and are afraid of their power being taken away by any kind of brown person or woman, grievance from cisgender folks who are upset by any marginal progress that trans community might make. The grievance position is one that demands that everything serve them. And anything that is not ultimately completely serving them is actually harm. So it's meant to demand validation of their fake position. It's meant to force us to cede all territory and to feel unethical in even fighting them. It's meant to make them the protected class. It's meant to invalidate all kinds of conversation that you can even have and muddy the waters about what true grievance is, what reality even is. It's meant to deny space to those who have authentic grievance, and it's meant to justify preemptively and after the fact all of the violence they are doing to maintain their power. Oftentimes you can tell in the conversation when you started the conversation talking about a population with real harms, and then somehow suddenly the conversation has become about emotionally caretaking somebody from dominant community. This is the point of the grievance performance. One of the reasons we see so many politicians, white male, and alas, I have to name it as Republican currently, Republican performances of grievance, because they are preemptively justifying their violent, unethical, and unrepresentative choices and action. If they're under attack and everything is war, well, I guess they have to throw all the rules away. But actually what's happening is they're throwing all the rules away and attacking everyone so they can take all the power. The grievance performance in supremacy culture. So I'm hoping that you, my calling up community, find this short tutorial useful. Also, just keep washing your hands. Keep wearing your masks. Keep loving each other and keep fighting for justice. We can do this.